Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports with me, Coach Ryan D. NHL prediction action right now. West Division, part 4 of a 5-part series of my bracket of who's going to win the Stanley Cup. We're going over the Avs, Presidents Trophy winner, the Knights, the Wild, and the Blues. This division is packed, and if you haven't seen our first 3 videos in the series, link is down below. Card is up top. Get familiar with who we have winning the North, winning the East, and winning the Central right now. Check out those videos to find out who the winner of the West is going to be and who they're going to play. So stick with us to the end. We're going to break down all the stats, all the predictions, all the lines, and we're going to walk through 2 of the Stanley Cup favorites, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. And are they going to have a tough matchup, or should these 2 powerhouse teams just walk through it? Let's roll the intro and find out.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux. Oh,
All right, so we got Colorado versus St. Louis, the President's Trophy winner versus the Stanley Cup winner from 2 years ago. And let's call this spade a spade. This is a mismatch if I have ever seen one. David versus Goliath. But the Blues, led by Ryan O'Reilly, have a few pieces of depth, including Jordan Binnington. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs after all. Anything can happen, but this year is unlike any other year. These teams have seen each other 8 times. They're familiar with each other. So let's go ahead and check out the tail of the tape. We'll find out if an upset's on the way. The Avs and the Blues met 8 times, where the Avs were able to take away 5 and the Blues were able to take away 3, leaving this season series at 5-3 Colorado. No surprise here from the Presidents Trophy Champions. Colorado comes in at one of the best teams in the NHL at scoring goals, and that shouldn't be a surprise to you either. Led by Nathan MacKinnon, they have an NHL second best goals per game at 3.44, and they were able to score at 3.3 goals per game against the Blues. They were able to hold the Blues to a goals per game average of 2.6, giving them the edge in that series, and that's key when we take a look at these teams. The Blues come in at the NHL's 14th marker at 2.89 goals per game, and frankly, going into the NHL playoffs, that's a bottom basement team. There's only 16 teams in the playoffs, so mid-pack in the NHL is fine, but you're not one of the NHL elite scorers, and that may end up hurting the Blues unless Binnington can play hot. Let's take a look at the special teams, as we know that's always a big area of interest when it comes to winning Stanley Cup playoff rounds. The power play for Colorado and the penalty kill for Colorado. Somewhat surprising for the President's Trophy champions. 22.9% on the power play, good enough for 7th, but not as good as you would think for a team with so much talent end-to-end as this roster has. Their penalty kill is serviceable at 82.7%. That can definitely get it done and help you win a Stanley Cup, but again, surprising for a team with this kind of talent. St. Louis comes in with a rather potent power play at 21.9%, so they're rather equal to the Colorado Avalanche when it comes to getting the man-up advantage. Their penalty kill overall, though, it is a league worst at 77.10. Sure, it's 27% and there's 4 teams below them, but no matter which way you slice it, this is junk. And will it be the St. Louis penalty kill that is their undoing? I think that is definitely a big piece of kryptonite here for the Blues. Colorado is absolutely in a class of its own in the NHL right now, and a penalty kill at 77% just screams 4-0 sweep. But let's take a look at the players on each roster so you don't have to just take my word for it. Nathan MacKinnon ends up getting passed by Mikko Rantanen by 1 point in the last 2 games. And boy, was it exciting for Colorado. They battled all the way to the end to get this favorable matchup. And they really left their division rival, the Vegas Golden Knights, with a tough one with the Wild. Yeesh. Good luck, Vegas. Mikko Rantanen comes in with 66 points. He's followed by his best buddy and line mate, Nathan MacKinnon, one of the league's best. Arguably, according to Sidney Crosby, the best center in the league, and I think Crosby knows a thing or two about players in the NHL. Although they are best friends and seem to work at Tim Hortons together, serving each other coffees. Very strange they'd take a minimum wage job. Anyways, Gabriel, Landeskog, Andre Burakovsky, absolute gems as well. And don't forget about the stud, Cale Makar. This defenseman is absolutely fantastic. From the Alberta Junior Hockey League, this young man stepped in as the 8th overall draft pick for the Avalanche. I cannot believe 7 other teams passed on this guy. He has been killing it ever since, a likely staple on Canada's blue line come the Olympics next year. The Blues come in with a team of wily vets led by David Perron and Ryan O'Reilly. 58 and 54 points are nothing to sneer at, but frankly after that, they kind of end up really falling off a cliff. This is a team that's built around good team defense, a really good goaltender in Jordan Binnington, while at least a pretty average goaltender, but has the ability to get hot and definitely steal and win a cup. We saw him do that in 2019. Braden Shen, Mike Hoffman himself, Mr. Pro Tryout, Torrey Krug, they're signing in the offseason. I don't know if they should have let Pietrangelo walk. They tried to keep him, but a little too late. He ends up falling to division rival, the Vegas Golden Knights, and then you end up signing Torrey Krug for a reasonably big money deal, except he's smaller, so interesting ad. Justin Falk comes in on their back end as well. Tyler Bozak. You look down this roster, a key piece is going to be Vladimir Tarasenko. He's got to play a little bit better. He's only ended up actually playing half of the season. But taking a look at Tarasenko and the rest of the Blues that are on the injury report, we can see that Parayko and Tarasenko likely are going to be back for the start of the playoffs. They're just nursing a couple little bit of injuries. I expect them to be back for puck drop, along with Vince Dunn. However, Gunnarsson and Sundqvist, yeah, not a chance. Projected lineups for each team. The Avalanche come in boasting one of the best first lines in the NHL, maybe the best. Gotta ask Boston fans though, do you want Marchand? Do you want Bergeron and Pastrnak? Do you want Landeskog, MacKinnon, and Rantanen? Really tough call, to be frank. Either way you make it, let me know down below in the comments. And I can't really argue either one, but Landeskog, MacKinnon, Rantanen, excellent first line. Their second line, I don't know. Jost, Nichushkin, maybe. Dunskoy? I don't know. Third line's rounded out by Newhook, Kadri, and Burakovsky. Interesting depth. But then you end up with David Toews and Cale Makar on the back end, along with Girard and Graves. Philip Grubauer, though, may be the absolute key to the Avalanche winning a Stanley Cup this year. He's been frankly brilliant. One of the NHL's best. Stood on his head, one of the best goals against average in the league. Grubauer has been playing absolutely amazing. Taking a look at the Blues here, you got Ryan O'Reilly, Perron, and Barbashev rounding out their first line, along with Braden Shen, Justin Schwartz on their second line. I actually like the Blues' second line better than I like the Avalanche's second line. However, that's when things fall off for the Blues. Justin Falk and Torrey Krug probably going to end up eating maybe 25 to 30 minutes a game. Definitely a fantastic grouping of defensemen. Then you got the big Colton Parayko and Marco Scandella coming in. This team isn't bad. Jordan Binnington can goaltend with the best of them, so if he gets hot, he can swing the series just as much as Grubauer can. So the pick in this one, I hate to say it if there are Blues fans watching this, but it's pretty simple. It's the Avs. They're a Presidents Trophy winner for a reason. They went 5-3 in this series for a reason. They have more superstars. They're better coached. They're younger. They're faster. There is really very few areas where St. Louis can compete with Colorado. But again, in the Stanley Cup playoffs, you never know what's going to happen. So let me know who your pick is down below. And if you've made it this far, smash a like, hit a subscribe. This is part 4 of part 5. You're definitely not going to want to miss part 5 where we finally pick who's going to win the Stanley Cup. So that takes us to the Las Vegas Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild. Two teams that frankly have had amazing NHL clubs since their inception. Well, at least for Minnesota for the last 10 years, it feels like. Yeah, they've missed the playoffs, but really, should they have? Minnesota's always been on the cusp of greatness. They've just never been able to capitalize. Vegas, since they came in the league, what a story. However you feel about Vegas, they've been a dominant team since entering the league. They have balance all over the lineup. And I mean, what do you really expect when they're allowed to draft endless second and third liners? And other teams who exposed these players in the draft had no idea, frankly, what they were doing, because they had no way to know what trades to make or how to protect these guys from going over to Las Vegas. So they end up with an absolutely disgusting lineup. There are no holes in the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Their goaltending, absolutely world class. If Fleury doesn't stand on his head, and he has been all year, he is goalie number 1, then Lehner is going to come in and clean up the mess. There really is no fear for Vegas. So if you end up cracking the code that is Fleury, they just trade him out. But the Minnesota Wild have had Vegas's number. This team is big, it's heavy, it's led by an amazing rookie in Kaprizov. This team looks primed for an upset. Analysts are calling it all over the place, and it's really hard not to call it an upset but it doesn't feel like it should be. Minnesota has won this season series, and they've won it quite handedly. Las Vegas has had amazing trouble with Minnesota since they've come into the league. Minnesota's basically clean swept them ever since Vegas came onto the scene. They have the answer for the Golden Knights, and it's in their big physical veteran play. So, who ends up winning the series? Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Knights, Wild. 5-3 series lead goes to the Wild in the regular season, but we're talking playoffs, baby. Playoffs. We're talking playoffs. The Golden Knights and the Minnesota Wild come in both scoring at a clip of 3 goals per game. And the ironic thing is that Vegas has outscored Minnesota 24-23, even though they've lost the series. What's up with that? Super weird. Goals within their division. Both these teams know how to score. 3.35 versus 3.28. 5th and 8th in the league. These teams are excellent on offense. Surprising if you haven't been watching the Minnesota Wild this year, I know, but they are absolutely a very potent team. They remind me of a Washington Capitol light team. They're physical, they beat you up, and by beating you up, they get space. By getting space, they're able to control the offensive zone, create turnovers, and put pucks in the back of the net. Some of them aren't pretty, most of them are dirty, big bodies in front, and you are going to leave bruised and feeling it after playing these guys. I can tell you right now, Las Vegas is pissed that they lost that game to the Avalanche, and absolutely pissed that they don't have the opportunity to go ahead and play the Blues, because frankly, I think Colorado would have dispatched Minnesota pretty easily. But now we have an absolute huge series with an upset in the making. Now let's take a look at the special teams. Obviously, Las Vegas comes in with the league's best penalty kill, 26.7. That's world class right now. Their power play, though, very mediocre. And when you look at their players and superstars, you understand why. Vegas doesn't have any superstars. Vegas has no weak links. They're led by Mark Stone, a Mr. Do everything the right way type of player. He plays in every zone, two-way hockey. He scores, he hits, he defends. He's elite, but he's not franchise. He's not sitting up there in the echelon of the top 10 in the NHL, but he's definitely the captain of the Golden Knights. He's joined by Alex Pietrangelo, who has many years as a captain himself, as well as a Stanley Cup ring to himself. And then they are ended up by the core of misfits such as William Karlsson and Johnathon Marchessault, even Alex Tuch, who came over from Minnesota in the expansion draft. Tuch is going to have a bit of a chip on his shoulder for being sent over to Las Vegas and not protected in the first place. So this one is a little bit personal for him. This is going to be a big and a heavy series, and Las Vegas is fantastic at systematic play in all 3 zones, except against the Wild. So let's take a look at the American Twin City team from St. Paul, Minneapolis that thinks it's Canadian. Kaprizov leads this team as a rookie. What a season. 27 goals, 24 assists, rookie of the year, no doubt about it. Kevin Fiala and Matt Zuccarello both coming in with reasonable point totals. Eriksson Ek and the other Foglino, Fogliano. Marcus Foglino ends up rounding out that first line, and he is a nice player for Minnesota. Bonino, anybody. Fantastic hockey player. Even guys like Victor Rask and Matt Dumba and Ryan Suter. Dumba and Suter are just big monster defensemen. They are going to let you know it night in and night out. Suter will make you leave the ice with bruises all over your back. Those heavy cross checks in front of the net. He's nasty to play against. Dumba brings an edge to his game. Zach Parise is still kicking around here and doing a few things with that veteran leadership. This team, it's not bad. But then here we go, the Vegas Golden Knights, led by Mark Stone, as I said, and Max Pacioretty, who just knows how to score. These guys have been carrying the team along with Marchessault, the offensive-defensive phenom, Shea Theodore. Theodore leads all defensemen on this team with 42 points. Alex Pietrangelo rounds out the more defensive core of this team. Karlsson, Tuch, Martinez, Smith. It just doesn't end with this team. There are absolutely no weaknesses as you go down this roster. Stevenson, Stone, Pacioretty, Marchessault, Karlsson, Smith. That is a really nice top 6. Alex Tuch, Nicholas Waugh, and Janmark come in at the back end. This is a nice team. It's really hard to find a weak link. Martinez and Pietrangelo with McNabb and Theodore. Even the Manitoban Zach Whitecloud ends up getting in there. And then, like I said, the best 1-2 punch in goalies today between Fleury and Lehner. Sorry, Price and Jake Allen fans. These guys are 1 and 2. The Wild projected lineup: Greenway, Ek, Foglino. Not a bad way to go. Kaprizov, Hartman, Zuccarello. Again, not a bad way to go. Rask, Fiala, Johansson. This is a big and heavy team. Suter and Spurgeon, Brodin and Dumba. Talbot likely takes the net and holds it at least for game one, but at the first sign of trouble, Capo could end up getting into this lineup. He has beaten the Knights twice. He has a fantastic save percentage against them. They will not hesitate to change goalies if they need to. So where does that leave us? Is this upset city, baby? Is this the Wild over the Knights? Do they continue their dominance over Vegas? I'm going to make the unpopular pick. I see tons of people other than betting odds, but when I read the articles and take a look at the experts' pick, this is the sexy upset, and I understand why. It is because there just really isn't that many upsets that's going to happen in the first two rounds of the playoffs. These teams are super familiar with each other. So unlike previous years where you think an upset is bound to happen, of course it is, but probably not in the same vein that it has been before in the past. I'm not going to pick this upset. I'm going to stick with the Knights. I think they're too deep throughout. I gotta think that if this isn't their time, it's never going to be their time. And frankly, if a Knights fan wants to say, well, if we didn't play the Wild, we win the cup, that's a stupid argument to make. You got to beat the best if you want to be the best, and you got to get through the Wild. You get through the Wild, guess what your next round's going to be? Colorado, and it doesn't get easier from there. You got 4 hard series, and if you lose the cup in the first round, it doesn't matter. You lost the cup. Ask the Leafs fans. You lose in round 1, you lose in round 4. What's the difference? You lose. Loss is a loss. Knights fans, take it from a Jets fan here. We lost in the conference final. I take no solace in the fact that the Jets made the conference final. I'm just pissed off that you were gifted a team for free. You had unbelievable players and you got to walk in and disrupt my Jets from something that's, we've been waiting 40 years for. Basically since the WHA days, and for 20 of those years, I didn't even have a team. Thanks, you bums. Now I'll put 100 on red. So that leaves us with the divisional final of Las Vegas and Colorado. 2 juggernauts. This is going to remind me of the days Colorado had to play Detroit to get to the cup, and Detroit had to beat Colorado to get to the cup. This could be the cup contended in round 2 because both these teams are amazing. They come in with a 4-4 record against each other. You have a team with so much depth in the Knights and discipline and defensive structure and goaltending against a team that is so deep, talented, and skilled with superstars out the yin-yang in Colorado. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape. Avs, Vegas. Vegas outscores the Avs 3-2.4 in this series. Goals within their division, 2nd and 5th, 3.35 versus 3.44. Colorado edges them out there. Makes sense with all the superstars that Colorado has. They are built to score. Power plays come in. First penalty kill versus the 7th power play. Edge goes to Vegas in this because their penalty kill should be able to handle the onslaught they face from Colorado. Although at any point in time, those superstars from Colorado can turn it up and take it over with a good power play. The power play for Vegas, probably not good enough to crack that penalty kill of Colorado. 82.7 is definitely good enough to keep the Vegas Golden Knights quiet. And for me, that is good enough. I think this will come down to a battle of special teams, and the Avalanche's superstars will be able to crack through that Las Vegas power play. I also believe the Colorado Avalanche will be able to get away with more physical play against Las Vegas, take a couple more penalties if required, because they can likely kill it against this putrid offense and power play of Vegas. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. I am going to go ahead here and call Colorado in 6. Well, that does it for this. We have Colorado winning in 6. We have the Wild losing to the Knights. I didn't think I called it before, but the Wild, they're going to lose to the Knights in 7. I know I'm calling the Knights, but this is going to be a close series. And then we have Colorado rolling through the Blues in 4. So that is my prediction for the Western. We end up having our 4 winners now. Colorado from this division, 3 mystery winners. You got to go watch my other videos in order to find out who my top 4 are. Tomorrow, we're going to walk you through the conference finals, and we're going to walk you through the Stanley Cup finals. Remember, there's no bracket this year. They're going to reseed these 4 teams based on points. First time this has ever happened. Super, super exciting. Thanks for being with us, Coach Ryan D.